Okay. Oh, a little bar is moving around now. So can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear a toothpick drop? Anyway, yeah. So when I talk, the little bar on the screen is moving. You can hear everything, really, everything, everywhere, all at once. That's kind of frightening. Well, here it is on Wednesday, and Submarine Wednesday just will not stop. It just won't. I haven't watched that one either. But sometimes it feels like I don't need to watch the movie because it feels like everything's happening everywhere all at once. Well, anyway, on Monday, on my abbreviated session, I finished The Goose with a Lute. There it is. It's a Canada goose. You can tell by the Canada goose spot on its head there. It's a gigantic one. It's a dire goose. This is a typically large D&D figure, and you can see it's even bigger than that. So for some reason, some unknown reason, we have a dire goose playing a lute, wearing a plate armor, upper body armor or something. Anyway, I think it came out pretty well. I think that looked okay. Now I need to put it somewhere where it's not going to break any more. I'll set it up here. I don't need the goose picture anymore, but I might just turn it over and use this white thing. So the submarine is continuing to come along. But as you can see here, there's little parts, right? So when I was cementing on the bow and the stern, the reactor fell out. That wasn't particularly a good thing, and I need to, I might as well even show it to you. That came out, and then the hatch on the top of the missile came off, and the ladder fell off, and then I discovered this is the servo room, where they have, this is essentially a big gyroscope. It's the gyro room. It goes in this way, okay? And I discovered that the bottom of it had an opening that had never been filled in, and the painting was not done very well, and there was anyway. Yeah, so I'm going to be sanding the bottom of this so it's smooth, and I'll repaint that, so there'll be a little bit of painting. I did paint the fold-down hull of the submarine. I got that done, and maybe I'll show it to you if I feel like moving it, but other than sanding the bottom of this, which needs to be done, I've got the submarine itself with all of its wonderful internal detail, right? It's there. And I've got the bow and the stern and the hatch that goes over the tops of the missiles, and I filled those in with plastic putty. The gaps on when, I think, maybe on Monday, I can't remember. I did that maybe over the weekend. And those need to be sanded down so that I can mask and tape the hull. And then there's just little bits and pieces that need to be put together that seems to be taking forever. So I'm going to start with something that's relatively harmless. I'm going to start with this piece, okay? And I'm going to sand the bottom of it by taking a piece of sandpaper, fairly coarse, okay? And just rubbing it against it so that it gets flattened out on the bottom, and when it's nice and even and so not lumpy and stuff, then I'll paint it dark gray. And then I'm going to take the missiles. These missiles have a little band around them that you can't see because it's very tiny. And that has to be black. And it's supposed to have a black stripe around it. There might be even two, but there's definitely one up on the top here. And so I'll get my head magnifiers out and do that. So there'll be a little bit of painting, relaxing painting with Dyson Dungeons. The bottom of this will need to be painted once it's sufficiently sanded. And then the stripe on the missiles, which will be done with a pen, won't really be painted on. And then I'll get the hull of the submarine out and do some sanding on that. There's a fair amount of it, which is going to be clumsy because the thing is really big. You know, it's just large. It's just very large. And so that's going to be kind of challenging to get that done. This is going very slowly. Oh, it seems to be working now.
Yes, but the noise filters are turned off apparently.
Oh, okay.
So, why don't you put on the brake screen?
Okay. Well, there's always something. So I'm going to be taking a quick break while that something is fixed. Be back in a bit. Okay, well, apparently there was a problem with the microphone. Initially, there was a problem with the microphone not working, and then it was sort of working. But apparently, there's this really neat noise filter on it that would have kept you from hearing the sound of sanding. I don't know why you wouldn't want to hear the sound of sanding. But anyway, the filter wasn't working, so now maybe it is working. Maybe things are working. But, yeah, it's almost like this would be a Monday. Flip. Yes. Let's do a flip. Well, this is pretty good because I don't really have that much to do today, and most of it isn't all that great in terms of viewing. And I don't have much to talk about, so I can do a flip. Haven't done that yet. I just did this, on Monday. I'm gonna do the big one here because there's nothing here that can be broken. Well, I shouldn't exactly say that, but because there's always something that could break. But this should be fairly safe, so I'm gonna do this. That is 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 and 2. 3 and 3. Good. Probability works today. At least that's working. Yeah, so to recap, this is a part of the submarine that was supposed there's like this was cemented in, the gyroscope that was cemented in, and that never got filled and sanded. Anyway, this deck, as I was working on the rest of the submarine, found out that the bottom of this deck just was messy and needed to be fixed. So I filled in some gaps, and now I'm sanding them down so that it doesn't show. And then I'll paint it, and after it's painted, I'll just let it sit so the paint can dry. But this is another one of those chunks of the submarine that needs to be reinstalled. I don't know why this isn't flattening that quickly. So the interior of the submarine, according to the directions, is supposed to be cemented in, but I haven't cemented any of the parts. I've just been letting friction hold them. And that, you can't hear the sound. I know, you can't hear the sanding. It's kind of sad, isn't it? Because there's just going to be a lot of sanding today. Alchemist, thanks for joining chat. I know, there's a filter on the microphone. It's not on the microphone, it's on the software, I guess, that filters out extraneous sounds, and it's keeping the sound of the sanding down, which is about, some, well, at least there's some music, you can hear that. Anyway, I'm getting really close to being done with the submarine, but then there's always something, like there's a piece of the deck that goes onto the very, very top of the submarine, the deck where the missiles shoot out, That's taken like 3 attempts to get on there. I think it's finally done. I'll find out today while I'm sanding around it. The reactor deck has fallen out twice. This is the gyro deck, and this was messed up, and I needed to fix it, so that's why I'm sanding it. I did spray paint the fold down hull. I did that yesterday, and maybe I'll show that to you. Okay, so this is still a little rough. I'm not sure why, but it's good enough. So this is all full of sanding dust now. It's messy, yuck. This is like polishing cloth. I'm just going to give it a rub on here to get rid of some of the scratch marks. When I was cementing in the deck for the 3rd time, because the first time it fell off, the second time I put it in backward. It was just relaxing painting at its best. So fortunately the cement didn't hold the second time either, so I was able to break it off and readjust its setting there. So I think it's fitting fairly well now. I think it's okay. And anyway, the bottom of this deck needs to be painted dark gray. It's this color here. I need to paint the rest of it. And so I'm gonna just mix up the paint here. Brush it on real quickly with a big brush to try to minimize brush marks. And then move on to the next sections of the submarine, which is awkward because the thing is just really big. When I start working on the Apollo later in the stream, the Apollo, the parts aren't that big. It's not. Yeah, you really need that kind of sound, don't you? And I've misplaced things already. I'm going to need it later. What I'm looking for is my pellet, the little round white piece of plastic with the little wells in it that hold the paint, right? That thing? Yeah, well, I set it aside because it was in the way while we were trying to fix all the things that weren't working this morning. And it was just about everything that wasn't working. And now I've misplaced it, which means that the place I put it isn't where I should have put it, because now I can't find it. Anyway, yeah. Oops. What is... Okay, this paint is nearly gone. There's a little bit of a divot there yet, but it's not too bad. Okay, well, that's gray now. And there's still, you can still see a little divot there. It didn't get filled in as well as I would have liked it to have been filled in. Phil was a failure today. What's up with you, Phil? I'm gonna set this in the box of parts. This is the reactor that fell out that I need to replace for like the third time. These are dive planes that go on the sail or the conning tower. That's the hatch that goes over the top of the missiles. That's the ladder that fell off for the fifth time. In here is the propeller that I put in a box because I don't want it broken. And here are some missiles that need to have stripes put on them. And those aren't even the thing that I'm working on, which is the entire submarine. This is mighty fine sandpaper. I used plastic putty, Viejo plastic putty, and this works pretty well if it's done in thin layers. Okay, if it's done on if it's in really thick, it doesn't dry. Okay, it just stays gummy. And you'll be seeing a lot more of this on the hull of the submarine. The bow, basically the parts of the submarine are really pretty poorly manufactured, and so they don't fit very well. So the bow and the stern were attached to the hull of the submarine, and they were uneven and they left gaps. So I'll be using this 1000 and 2000 grit sanding paper to sand down those seams. And this I can put somewhere where I hopefully won't break it. No, the Tamiya? Yeah, I was using the Tamiya too, and it just wasn't really easy for me to use. But I think it sets up better. Their stuff is really pretty good. We use a lot of their paints, like this one. This one was. So we use a combination of the Viejo and the Tamiya. But I found that the Tamiya is the Viejo, is a little bit easier for me to use. It is less toxic. There's that going for it. There aren't as many warnings on it. And the only problem I have with it is that it does tend to shrink a little bit as it dries. So sometimes it needs to be overdone. Yeah. Getting near the end of getting this submarine together, and it's just so awkward because it's 2 feet long, which means that it's okay. Well, I'm going to lift up the camera a little bit later so you can see it better, but it's just really awkward on the workbench. Yeah, what I was going to do is, these are the Polaris missiles. I don't know why they're supposed to be painted red. I think because this was a prototype submarine and these were prototype missiles at the time. Because I know that later on these were the Polarises, then the Poseidons. Yeah, the Poseidons and then the Trident missiles came later. And those, I think, were painted white and black. So let me see what I can do here. This is really helpful when I'm doing something small. But the box top, there's this tiny raised ridge right where my thumbnail is, around the top of each of these. And they're pretty featureless. otherwise. And the box top shows that that has a black stripe on it. So I'm going to use this extremely fine pointed micron to see if I can catch that raised edge. He's kind of doing it, but I don't know if it's going to even be visible. I might use the slightly less fine-tipped micron to make the line a little bigger. Also don't want to mess it up. Not feeling the need to be repainting things any more than is necessary. And unfortunately, on relaxing painting with Dyson Dungeons, the necessity of redoing things is more frequent than I would like. Not being a professional painter or model builder, one of the things I keep getting tempted to invest in is the pens that you can use with the paints. So basically you can do this with the model paints. I've seen them, and I imagine that there are people who are quite skilled at using them for fine detail, but I've never used them myself, and so I don't know. It might be one of those things that I do someday. Or else I'll just use the techniques that I used back in the 1960s, when I was building models as a kid. This particular model, the Renoir submarine, is one that I built when I was in grade school, I believe. Middle school, I guess. I would have been like in 7th grade or 8th grade maybe or something when this thing came out, and I built the first one. Not the first kit that was ever built, the first one for me, which was the one I built then. This is the second one. Okay, well, you can see that there's now a black stripe around it. It looks more pronounced with the head magnifiers, but there it is. I could put one up here too. Kind of tempted to try that. It's kind of a spot here. Anyway, yeah, so this Renoir submarine, that has been going on Sub Wednesday now for God knows how long. I really don't know how long I've been working on this. But you'll get to see the whole thing in a little while after I finish painting, panning these stripes. After I'm done with this, I'm going to have to bring that out because I'll just show you what the situation is. And at this point in the construction of the model, I'm just going to call it a situation, the situation that I've gotten myself into. Okay, so I think that looks okay. I've got another one, so I might as well do this one too. It up, buying 3 submarine model kits in order to get enough parts to make one. And this one, I mean, it is essentially done, but it's done like people who are restoring a car. You know, if you ever see ads for cars, that they always say 95% complete, right? Because people spend years and years restoring a car, and then it comes down to like installing the badges or just little parts, the radio knobs or whatever. And then it turns out like something's missing, or a part is broken, or something got lost. Or usually what happens at that point is it never got finished. So it's 95% complete. Well, this submarine is in that situation. It is in the 95% complete stage, which means that it'll never get done. It's just going to sit there, and it's going to haunt me and haunt you until someone tries to sell it on eBay as 95% complete. So speaking of selling things on eBay, so part of the situation with the submarine, like I said, I had to buy 3 of them in order to get enough parts to build a submarine. So there's 2 of them left. Okay, I've got boxes of parts, and there are enough parts between the 2 to build a submarine. The problem is that some of the parts they're really very badly molded. Okay, so there's like divots in them, or there's a control panel that's got just a gap in it. Okay, this came out okay too. So now there's a stripe around the missile. So I've got three model kit boxes, none of which are in pristine condition. One of them has a tape mark on it. Another one is a corner seam is broken. So I won't say that they're pristine, but I've got 3 boxes and 2 sets of parts. And that 2 sets of parts is probably enough. Yeah. See, that's what happens, is you end up with models haunting you. I've got probably 30 models haunting me, because when I retired, I thought I would be bored to death and have nothing to do with my time. And so I would relive my adolescence and build models. I mean, why not? What do old guys do after they retire? They go in their basement like this, except, without a camera, and build models. So I've got some really nice ones. I know. It's just like, how am I going to get to the other 60 of them, or 80 of them, or 90 of them? There are just tons. They just like keep multiplying almost. I've got this gigantic V2 rocket. I have no idea why I bought it. It's a 1/16 scale model kit. It stands like 3 feet long. It's got internal detail in it. A lot of these models are like that. I've got a plank by plank America's Cup, the first yacht, the America. I should show that to you, since I'm going to be getting up and moving things around. This is one of the first model kits I bought. Okay, thinking that maybe if I just bought this one, it would use up my entire retirement. So this is an absolutely gorgeous model. It's the America, which was the yachting schooner that won the first America's Cup. That's why they called it that. Okay. And I haven't opened it, but it's like, look at this. It's a wooden model. It's built, it's plank by plank. Wooden model. And it's got all of the little strings on the sails and everything. Just amazing. I thought I would build this. I have to show it to you. It's just gorgeous. But yeah, it's just sitting up here. I bought one of those Renwall visible V8. You know, the kind, if you know anything about the models, this was another one that was made back in the 60s. It's a V8 engine that's got a clear case around it, and the parts actually work. And I got one that I think is complete, but I haven't even opened the box yet, really. It's got an amazing cover on it that sometime I might pull out and show you. Okay, well, I'm going to get off screen and bring some other things back here, because, you know, they need to be worked on. So I painted, this is the fold down part of the hull. This, if you look at it here like that, this stand is going to be painted brown. This folds down like that, okay? And we'll take the tape off. This is where the actual hull of the submarine attaches. It attaches here, so I didn't want paint on there because it has to be cemented. Anyway, you can see the original color of the plastic, which is kind of yucky, and then I've got this really nice gray paint that I used to paint it. So this, I actually did something. I accomplished something, which was kind of shocking. But this, okay, that's annoying. How come that didn't get painted? Okay, I'm gonna have to brush that on. There was a seam there, and for some reason it didn't get painted. So I might just do that now. What the heck? Well, apparently I might have the time and the patience to do a plank by plank kit, but what I don't have is the skill to actually pull it off. Sorry, I'm wandering around and throwing things away. Stuff that. Oh, there it is. Huh. This is a good day. Yep, there we go. So this stripe here, that's going to show, because the hull of the submarine, there's just two little tabs here, and the hull of the submarine ends there. So what I'm going to do is something that really shouldn't be done, I guess. Shouldn't really do this, but I'm going to anyway. I used a spray can of spray paint. I didn't use an airbrush because I'm just not that good at it. Because that didn't get painted, and I don't know why not, because I spray painted it and the tape wasn't on it, I'm going to spray some paint into a little cup. I'm going to put some spray paint in here, and then use a brush and just and paint it on. See how this works. What could go wrong? What could possibly happen? I want to use a brush that's not a good brush. And I use a crummy brush because I'm not sure I can clean it. Yeah, well, hopefully that will even out. That was a thing. Let's throw this away now. Mineral spirits, maybe, to clean the brush. Maybe I should just throw the brush away. It's not a good brush, and so it's not really hurting anything. Anyway, yeah, so this is the fold down thing. Actually, here's what I could do is right in the front here. Okay, you saw the parts before. There are these little diving planes. This dive plane is supposed to be inserted into this hole here, and it's supposed to then flop around, you know. So let me see if I can assemble this. It has done that. Yeah. This is supposed to go in here. It's supposed to snap in, right? And then, and I'm supposed to be able to get it in there without breaking off. You can't see it without breaking that off. It's supposed to go in that hole and then rotate, and one can see immediately that it's just not, it's not doing it. It's not doing what it's supposed to do, which is it's supposed to go in there without snapping off. Okay, well, what I can do, though, is we can enlarge the hole, I guess, a little bit. I have a file. Gives me a chance to get up again, get some exercise in here. It's a little needle file here, and just use it on the inside of the hole here, just a little bit, and see if I can get that to go in. Nope, still not. Yeah, there is just paint in the hole. The light touches the important part. So this is why putting the submarine together has ended up taking as long as it has, is that parts don't fit really well. There we go. There we go. Ta-da! Yeah, parts don't fit very well. The paint gets in the hole. So there's now a diving plane. Look at that. And there's one that goes on the other side. So this is the non-display part. This is supposed to, it doesn't, but it's supposed to folding down it does. It's supposed to go up and completely nicely cover the open hull, but it doesn't. And you'll see that when I finally attach it all some decades from now. What I need to do next is I need to mask off the bottom of the hull and cover this whole thing up, and then I have a nice brown colored paint, satin finished paint, that I'm going to use to paint the stand, and then the stand will not look like the hull of the submarine. Now that I did this exciting thing, I'm going to get the rest of it. All right, I'm going to take the camera and move it way up. See as much of this as possible. So buttons. So this gap here, that's where the gyro room goes, the thing that I just painted, okay? Sanded and painted, that is installed there. And this big opening here is where the reactor goes. And that's important because the reactor powers everything, right? This is the deck that caused the most trouble. This deck has gone on and off like 3 times already. And then you can see where the plastic putty went around the bow and the deck and the stern. And what I am going to be attempting to do, and I hope I can, without breaking anything, what I'm going to be attempting to do is sand them down without breaking anything on the inside of the submarine. And there it is. Here there was a molding flaw, a dimple, and there's just no room for something this big. So what I need, okay, I don't want to just scratch everything out. So I hope by showing this to you, you can see why it's taken so long it's upside down now, but that's the way it is. Why it's taken so long to get to this point. There's just a huge amount of detail on the inside of the submarine, and I had great fun painting like the dials and the numbers on the control panels and the stove back there in the galley. There you can see there's a coffee pot and cabinets and stoves and tables and all sorts of stuff. Even back here in the machine room, like all the pipes on the floor. Okay, those are molded onto the floor and those had to be painted. So, at my skill level, that just took forever. So I have to both sand this stuff down and be delicate all at the same time, and we'll see. The second one of those two, like the one I just installed, goes here. Goes on this side, and I'm going to put that on after I paint this hull. This hull will get painted the same gray that the other one was. This is where that ladder goes, back here. The tiny little ladder goes there. And, yeah, there it is. I've got my 1000 and 2000 paper, and I've got a piece of balsa wood that I'm going to use maybe as a sanding block. We'll see. And what I want to also try to do is not get sanding dust everywhere. I don't know how this is going to go. It's like sanding should be one of those things that anybody could do, and it doesn't take much time or skill or anything. But because there's no place to hold this, and the inside is so delicate, this could just take forever. So Ola Brager, who watches every now and then, might come on later, just built a Dungeons and Dragons play table. And it seats, 5 people, I think. And he said he made a video of it. And apparently he had like 60 hours of Yeah, this is where this stuff, it doesn't get hard, it just gets kind of gummy. That's where I think the Tamiya is better, because it gets harder. So when I first, once upon a time, I actually used auto body putty, and that, I might go back to that. You can get it, you don't have to buy it in gigantic tubs, right? Like if you're in auto shop, you can get little tubes of it. I used auto body putty on a model, and it really worked well. It was fairly easy to control. It's set up really hard because, you know, it's an auto body thing. And it's sanded nicely. So I'm very tempted to see if I can find a small quantity of that again and use that instead of these. Because this is even finer. This is just for polishing them. Because no matter what I use, it's just, none of these things work as well as that did. Can't feel it, so that's good. Yeah, so I'm going to just be honest, and I think I am going to see if I can find that again. I probably should be, like, using a file on this. I'm using the sandpaper because I didn't want to scar it up too much, but it is moving very slowly. If I could, the file would work. Yeah, I need a stand. What I need is another 6 inches of space. Yeah. Oh. I might try it again. We've had some and just had difficulty using it because I'm not very skilled at this kind of thing. As you can see, this is not this is not a good line. Oh yeah, super glue can be really difficult too. But the auto body putty, as I recall, was just really good to use. You control it really quite well. I think maybe it will work better if I sand it with the seam. So I was saying Ole Brager built this table and did a video of it. And apparently he was able to build this thing in less than half an hour. At least that's what the video shows. No, but really, he said that there was like 60 hours of video, so it took him a full-time job for almost 2 weeks to build this thing. Of which maybe 20 hours, he said, was sanding. And he didn't think people would enjoy watching him sand for 20 hours on his stream. So he cut it down to like 30 seconds or 15 seconds of sanding. Unfortunately for you guys, unfortunately for you guys, this is a live stream, so, you know, unless it gets edited somewhere along the line, you all just get to watch me sand, because that's what needs to be done. I need to sand these seams, sandy seams, so that I can paint the hull. And this is going just yeah. I can't. Yeah, there's just no way to hold this, and the inside is so fragile. I don't want it touching anything, especially the torpedo tubes up in front. Those were some of the very first things that were put on, and they were really awful to install. I do not want them broken. Just wondering a little bit if it would make sense to use a little coarser grade here. It's not just that there's a seam here, but that there's a difference in height, I guess. There's an offset that needs to be feathered in like this. This is coming along okay up here. Yeah, given, this is a round hull, round this way, and across this way, there's no good way that I could use a file on that to move it along. I have somewhat coarser paper that would remove some of it faster, but no. I guess I'm going to end up just doing this like 1/8 of an inch at a time, I guess. Yeah, you can see where the seam is now a little bit. Thanks for becoming a follower. Thank you. Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays from more or less 10 until more or less 2, except when I'm away, and I usually announce that. So thanks for joining in, and actually thanks for the advice. So this is relaxing, relaxing sanding. I kind of warned everybody that this would be happening. Yeah, I'm gonna get some slightly coarser sandpaper here. There's that 1,000. Next level down, 1,000, 2,000, 1,500, 800. No, I'll be back in a second. I just need some scissors. I'm going to get me a little piece of 800 and a piece of 600 and see how those go. I don't want to scratch everything up, really do horrible scratching. the other hand, I don't want to be spending like decades in case at some point I need to cut a smaller piece off. This is the 800, which bites a little bit more than wonder. Let me try this. Yeah, that's a good idea. I had a good idea using it like a sanding block here. Doing the rough sanding with this, and then I can use the really fine grit stuff to polish it. So this is I need to do this, and I'm sorry that it's kind of boring. Not that the painting stream isn't boring usually anyway, but this is probably particularly boring bit, but it's like the last bits that had to be done on the submarine, which is the installation of the bow and stern, and they don't line up, and they have seams. And the seam is still going to show a little bit, I'm afraid, because the parts are not perfectly aligned. But, it'll be better than just having a gap there, right? A gap would be pretty bad. Having a slight misalignment, it's not that awful. Especially since this is the very back of it and will not really be seen. Yeah, and so I'm spending so much time on it because parts that aren't going to be seen are the ones that take the most time, right? Divot there that got filled in, that came out nicely. So at some point I'll be done sanding the bow and the stern and the escape hatches. When those are done, yeah, it'll probably be until about break time, and when it's time for a break, after break, I'm going to get the Apollo out because that's the next thing. But this is getting pretty close to the point where I can't really do any, it's going to be spray painted, and I can't really do that on camera because I just don't have any way to do that. And since there is no way to do it, it won't be done. That's the way it is. You can't do things that can't be done. And so I won't be doing the thing that can't be done. I'll be spray painting this in a well-ventilated area somewhere else. Yeah, so there's still going to be a little bit of a ridge there because the parts don't match up perfectly. but it won't have a gap at least. Okay, so now I'm going to go back to I'm going to use the really fine stuff, the 2000 grit, and I'm just going to polish that as much as I can. I don't want a lot of scratch marks on it. Going to be a little more visible than I would have hoped, but not too bad. Keeps coming out. That will actually have to come out at some point because I have to install the reactor again. That's the stern. I'm going to save these things on top until a little later. I'm going to do the bow now. The bow to be done essentially the same way as the stern. You can see that, the similarity there. But I've got this. Maybe it'll go a little faster. This stuff here, those are escape hatches. And I might use a little bit of like a needle file on those. And then the fine-grained sandpaper. I got way too much putty on them. Bow, the very nose of the submarine, didn't line up real well with the rest of the hull, so there's kind of a ridge there in addition to the seam. I'll do some additional sanding on that. Try to minimize it. But, it's like one of those things you just keep worrying at it. That's a good word. Worrying at it. And eventually it bends to one's will. It just gives up and turns out the way it should. This is the 800 grit. The 800 grit's working pretty well. It's not leaving a lot of scratches, but it's working more quickly. I don't want to bother with the 600 unless I really get into a spot. Okay. Yeah, about the only thing I can say right now is that I haven't broken anything. I haven't knocked this off. I haven't knocked any additional internal parts out. This is just awkward locations. Can you see this? Yeah, it's sort of on camera. Be really nice is if these parts fit seamlessly, you know, if they literally use that word seamlessly, and it was that, but they don't. I'm not going to be hyper compulsive about these bits here because they won't show. They'll be in the back. The ones on the top will show, so I'm going to spend more time on those when I get to them after I'm done with this bit here. Okay, now polish this and then move on to the much more important and delicate bits on the top. And then I won't have to be moving this around quite so much either. I don't like moving it around like this. Every time it moves is an opportunity for disaster. Okay, so I need to clean around those. I'm going to try using the paper. And if I can't get this to work using the paper and the sanding block, then I'll pull out a file. I had to take off my glasses. I can't see close up with them on. They're trifocals. And so there's this tiny little spot, okay, on the lens that focuses at each distance. And it's in an awkward place, so it really, I can't use them that way. Okay, this seems to be working. This little wedge-shaped piece of balsa wood is working out okay. We got the easy parts done. Now I didn't need, there's 2 hatches here, you know, so I guess 2 people can escape at the same time. That's nice. Only one can go up the ladder. There's 1 ladder and then it splits into 2, so I don't know quite what they have in mind, but there's the space in between the 2. Now it's kind of gummed up. Technical word for I got too much putty in there in that space, so now I need to clean it out. That's where I probably should get the needle file out. It's going to take a while. Yeah, sort of on camera. That's good. I stand out. Thanks for joining in. You're seeing a very boring episode of Submarine Wednesday, where I am doing the final finishing touches on the submarine by sanding out little bits of the hull where I had put some plastic putty in to fill in some gaps. And then, but I'll show you the inside of it in a bit. But then it gets painted and it'll look nice. Guaranteed. Okay, so there's that. Now I'm going to do the one in the back. Oh, here, let's see it. Show you the inside of the submarine while I'm at it. Okay, all of that took months and months and months and decades of months and years, and it took forever. At least anybody who was watching this would say it felt like it took forever. Nope, there's another part that fell out. Yay. And then there are parts that were put on. Like the stern had to be attached, and anyway, there were gaps, and the gaps needed to be filled in, and so this is the filler that is used to fill it in, and there's too much of it, so I need to sand away the excess. And it's slow and tedious and boring, and yeah, makes for great television. So after I'm done sanding this, I'm going to then reinstall the parts that fell out. Yeah, parts fell out. And then at some point, I'm going to get myself some really good masking tape and mask off this entire interior. Okay, cover it up beautifully so that no paint leaks in, and then paint the hull. And I painted the part that folds onto this and it works. So, and it looks good. But in the meantime, and then I've got some paint touch up over here where I made a mess of things when I cemented this part on. And so I've got to touch that up. So this little wedge-shaped sanding block is doing okay. Okay, now I've got this section here, this deck. This has been like a nemesis thing. I don't go into all the detail. Let's just say it's been difficult. I'll use more of the 800 on this. It has been, an unpleasant journey getting that done. So I'm hoping that after the sanding here, that the sanding will end up making it look good. This bit right here has been the most difficult of the difficult spots. The parts didn't, not only was there a seam, but they didn't line up. Do the polishing on this later. Sorry, I'm going quiet. This is this has just been a really frustrating section of the submarine. I'll just put it that way. It has been an unpleasant thing. This deck here has gone on and off like 3 times, each time creating its own set of problems. I'm hoping against hope that this will be the last of it. This might leave some scratch marks, but I want it to move along a little more quickly than it is. I'm just going to try it and see. Try it and see if it works any better. I have to be really careful along the top here because there's some printed detail that I do not want to lose. They're the hatches for the top of the missile tubes. Okay, so this is okay here. And as long as I'm careful with it, it should be okay. The only thing that can be said about this is that eventually this will actually get done. It's just slow, tedious, sort of careful work. Okay, so that's coming along okay, and like I said, I'll be able to polish that. I have another billion inches to go here. Just fractions of an inch at a time, moving right along, having a great time, sanding down the putty that I use to fill in the gap. Without destroying anything else. So I don't know how long it took to build the original submarine. They said on the box, and there's no reason to believe that the box was lying, or the instruction sheet at least, that it was actually completed ahead of schedule. That the company that was building this prototype submarine, it was not the first nuclear submarine, but the first missile launching submarine, that the company that built this completed it ahead of schedule. And I've been kind of joking, and I don't think it's a joke anymore, that building this model probably took longer than it took to build the original submarine. Now, that's not an exactly totally fair comparison. The reason it's not totally fair is that I've only been working on this on Wednesdays, and not even every Wednesday, but periodically taking some time off from it. But on submarine Wednesdays, and only for a couple of hours. So when they were really building this, they probably had 3 shifts. They were probably working around the clock, right? Because it was essential for national security to be able to launch these ballistic missiles from under the ocean. And they probably got paid a bundle, for coming in ahead of schedule too. So there's money involved. There's no money involved in this. I can guarantee that. But in terms of the amount of calendar time, it's probably taken as much calendar time to get this completed as it did the original. But eventually it's going to get done. It's getting really close now. Once I'm done with this sanding, there's some internal repair work to be done. There's a couple of parts that fell out that I need to put back in. There's some paint touch-up up here on the bulkhead here. I got a piece of tape attached there to remind me to do that. So I'm doing, in real submarine work, it's probably it got completed ahead of schedule, but then we had to rework half of it. It was probably a good deal of that. And all sorts of stuff had to be fixed during sea trials. But at any rate, this is getting close to being done, and I'll be able to show you what the little bits that need to be finished after I'm done with the sanding here. Yeah, the edge here is mostly done. I don't think I've destroyed the missile launch detail. You know, I think it's a little dirty. It needs some cleaning up, but I haven't destroyed any of it. And then I just need to feather this down here. And then I'll get out some really fine sandpaper and polish out some of the scratches along the way. Oh, yeah. Sorry, I didn't have much to talk about while I'm doing this. This is just a real pain in the butt part of it. But I'm going to be giving up on this, and I'm going to get auto body putty. This is the Vallejo putty, and it doesn't really get hard. And then there's a Tamiya putty, which gets hard, but is very difficult for me to work with. And neither of them are, I'm not really pleased with either of them. So I built a model ages and ages ago that I actually never finished. I'll just be honest about it. I never really even finished it. It's a ME-262 fighter. And those parts didn't work at all. And there was just a lot of problems. Lots of gaps in the seams and stuff. And I used auto body putty. I was able to get a little tube of it. And that's what I'm going to do again for future work. I'm going to go back to the auto body putty. Okay, I'm going to take a paper towel bit, a little bit of paper towel, and get it a little damp because there's just dust all over this and I need to clean it off. I think that'll look okay. It's not perfect by any means, but it'll be adequate. Okay, I'm going to flip this around and try to restore the innards of this thing. All right, so one thing here where this tape is, I marred some of the green paint on that, so I need to touch that up with the green. Light green paint. I'm going to leave this on here so I remember it. And then I need the dark gray out again just to touch up some little bits of the hull there where it also got messed up. And then I need to reassemble some of these other parts. They need to be put back together. Like this one. This one, the paint is dry now. So I can put the gyros back in, the gyroscope room. Yeah, I intentionally did not cement these parts in. They fit pretty well by friction, and the cement just makes a mess of everything. And so I didn't want to do that. The reactor room is pretty cool. I think I'll go ahead and put this back in. There's a bunch of parts that have to go with this. This goes here. Okay, and then this goes through the hole in the wall. Top there. And then this part here. Okay, so that wasn't too bad. That wasn't an awful thing. Plastic putty dust is a mess. This is a hatch that goes here. Goes on the top there. That's probably going to get lost again. And now I need to get the green paint out. We'll just do that real little bits of touch up there. And believe it or not, a tiny bit of green paint on the end of this flipper thing. Because that goes in here. This diving plane goes in this hole here. And it needs to match the color. I'm not going to install it now. But you can see that if it goes in there, it needs to be green, right? So make it green. Probably should paint it after I install it, seriously. But I need to get the green paint out and touch up that bulkhead, because that's the kind of thing I'll forget to do later. Oh my, this submarine has been quite an adventure. And now it's getting really close to being done. And still presenting difficulties. Okay. I'm going to rotate this so I can actually see the problem. That should darken nicely. If it's nice, it should darken nicely and match the rest of it. Okay, and the heck, I'm going to paint this now, and I might have to touch it up later, but at least I have remembered. That in there. The last bit before I just do a recap on the status of the submarine is there's this ladder. This ladder has been, there are various parts of this. Well, no, that's not the last bit. There's another piece of touch up here that I need to do, and I'm just going to do this now while I'm thinking of it. Otherwise, I won't remember, and then it'll be an issue. Did I? No, I didn't. It's concerned that I slipped the brush over the edge and got the gray paint on the green paint. I don't want to get the gray paint on the green paint. Okay, so if you look in the parts box here, these are the parts box. There are several little pieces. There's these missiles, and one of these missile tubes actually opens up. You saw that before, this one does, right? There's a white on there. You're going to have to repaint this, probably. No idea how the putty got on there, but now it is discolored, and it's discolored in a place where it will show if I can get it off. That would be a good thing. So this opens, that hatch opens. I showed you that before, but this hatch under here also opens. I don't know if you can see it, it's kind of popping open. And there's a spring underneath here, and one of these missiles goes in the tube. It's supposed to pull down the spring with this little lever, and it's supposed to shoot up through here. It's all workable right now. Okay, I mean, it theoretically could work, but I'm not going to set it up so that it will work. What I am going to do is I'm going to put the missile in the tube like this, so it looks like it's shooting up through the top. Okay, so a missile's going to go in here through this hatch down into the tube, and I'll just leave enough of this stick on here so that it's just the right height. So that'll be that's going to be that detail. So this hatch goes on, this other hatch opens, the missile goes in, this thing, after the whole hull is painted, gets attached to the outside. This whole hull, okay, this is the color it's supposed to be. Okay, this is primed. This thing is I'm gonna mask all of this off and cover it, and then spray paint the hull so that it looks nice, like the other half does. And then I'll attach the propeller. Goes on the very back, the bronze propeller. That's an extra spring for the missile. So that'll go on at the very end along with this dive plane. But a thing I've been complaining about forever is this little ladder. And the ladder goes at the bottom of this escape hatch. Okay, it goes on the bottom of the escape hatch down to the floor below it. And it makes sense that there would be a ladder there. Because otherwise you can't get into the escape hatch. But the problem has been that there's no adhesion point. Okay, there's no place really for it to stick. Great. Okay. It's also really hard to hold on to. I dropped it. It got wedged on the inside of the submarine. And I have not been cleaning up. That noise you hear is me just pushing things out of the way because I have not been cleaning up like I should be if I were showing you how to do this for real. The ladder got jammed in there. Anyway, you can kind of hold on to it with the tweezers, kind of like that, see? Or not. I know that I'm going to hold on to it and then put it in backward. So it's possible to kind of get it down there. See how it fits there? But there's tiny little contact points right up here where it's supposed to stick, and it just doesn't. So I'm going to, the model cement just doesn't work on it. The contact points are just too small. I'm going to use contact cement, and I've had some success with this. It's a little bit blobby. Okay. I mean, it's really thick and kind of sometimes leaves residue showing, but I've had a fair amount of success with this repairing sword blades, I guess I'll call them, that I've broken off of little models the little minifigs that we use for a D&D campaign. So if I get little bits of this, it's called contact cement because it grabs onto itself. So I'm going to put little bits of it on there and little bits of it on here. And I'm hoping that I can get them to contact each other and hold on. I have the feeling that when I'm finally done with this, that one of these, that I'm going to look at it one day and the ladder will be missing. It'll have fallen off yet again because it is what it does. It just keeps falling off because there's no way to cement it. There's that. Oh, that's supposed to set for just a bit, and then I'll try to put it in place and see if it holds. All right, here I am, making another effort to get the escape ladder attached to the escape hatch. Well, it's sort of sticking. It's just not straight. Okay. All right. So this is now like 98% completed. I got the reactor back in. I got the gyro back in. I touched up the bulkhead where it was. Is there another scratch on there? Okay. I just need. There's a tiny touch yet that needs to be touched that I didn't see before, but I did by rotating it. Okay. Yeah, it's all put together. The final steps. These are going to be the final steps of the submarine completion, most of which are not going to be on screen. I won't be able to show them to you because they'll be involving spray paint. I need to very carefully mask all of the interior detail. I'll be running masking tape along all of these cutouts, okay, along the hull, all around top and bottom, and then covering it up with some sort of paper, okay, probably pieces of a grocery bag. So this will all get masked very carefully, and once it's carefully masked, I will be spray painting the outside of the hull, okay, so it doesn't look so scabby. Little bits of things that have to happen to make that happen is I need to close in these holes. These periscopes go up and down. I'm going to remove them because I don't want to spray paint them on and then have them become, stuck. And I'll be plugging the holes with little bits of toothpick, probably And I'll put little bits of tape over these other bits, so I don't want, like here and there. This is if someone climbs, if they climb this ladder all the way up here and go up these stairs, and then up here you can stand. It's possible, if you were a submariner, to stand on that little platform and stick your head out the top. I don't know why you'd want to do that, but you could. So a lot of masking, really careful masking, spray painting, unmasking, hopefully not seeing a disaster of spray paint getting inside the hull. Okay, especially a danger up here on the fore and the aft. And then the missile hatch and the missile get installed. This little dive plane gets installed, and the propeller gets installed. And I'll probably do those installations. I'll do that as part of the stream after this whole thing is painted, because then there can be the celebration of, oh, those last bits got installed. But in the meantime, though, I will show off by running it past the camera the inside of the Renwall submarine. Especially, I'm proud of the galley. That was the best part back there. So yeah, there's bits to do. There's still dangerous things to do, but yeah, we can say that this is pretty much completed. And after those last bits are installed, then this whole thing here, this part here, attaches to the stand. And I'm going to use contact cement, I think, a lot of contact cement on there, and attach it to the stand once that's done as well. So I'm going to set this aside, and until it gets to the very final steps, the very final little bits of installation, I'm not sure when I'll get around to that. Maybe never. Maybe I'll just leave it 98% completed. That would be appropriate, I think. But yeah, at some point, I'll be doing the very, very last bits, like installing the dive plane, the missile, the propeller, and reinstalling the periscopes. That will happen. I'm not sure when. If I get really brave, if I get very, very brave, I might do the spray painting this weekend. And if I did, then I'll be able to do the very, very last bit of completion next week. So, thanks for watching so far. I'm going to take a break now because it's a good time to take a break. I'm going to replace the submarine parts box with this parts box. And after break, I will be pulling out, finding and starting to prepare the Apollo parts for the escape tower. Submarine was awkwardly large. The box for the Apollo is really awkwardly large. So during break, I'm going to clean up this whole area here so that there's actually space for me to set this box down. And what we'll be doing is I'll be finding the parts for the escape tower. Okay, that bit there. And then we'll see. I'm going to test. I don't have the paint for it yet. I'm really, the whole thing is painted this slightly off-white, semi-gloss, I guess satin, off-white satin color. And I need to find that color of paint. So I'm going to not do this in order the way the instructions say it is, to go from top to bottom. is I'm going to kind of skip around. I'm doing the command module last because that's going to be a problem. So I'll probably do this, and then the service module, and then the LEM, and then the command module. But you'll see this a little bit later after break, when we start moving on from submarine to Apollo. See in about a half an hour. Oh, break's over. The air quality here is terrible after the front moved through. Yeah, we were pretty lucky. Really bad weather either went north or south of us, but the temperature change was tremendous. I guess, here it was like 40-degree drop in a couple of hours. I guess there's some places in northern Wisconsin, maybe the UP of Michigan, where they went from like 75 to 5 in less than 12 hours. So needless to say, there's a big pressure change that comes along with that, as well as a lot of wind, right? That comes with the pressure change. Anyway. Lumbago, that's what they used to call it, I think, ages ago, when old people like me got achy because of pressure changes. So anyway, having trouble breathing and feeling achy. Anyway, this is the model I'm going to be working on next. It is a really cool model. It's got the escape module, the command, the service module, the area where the LEM is held with the fairing around it, and the LEM itself, and the base. And each part opens up. You can see like these open up so you can see the LEM, and you can take LEM out. The LEM is actually made up of two parts. This the whole thing that lands, and then the top of it that went back, left the moon, is separate. The hatch on the command module opens. You can see some detail, not much, but some detail on the inside. And there's a hatch on the service module, so you can see the tanks and things on the inside. Even at the very top of the escape thing here, the escape tower, these are rocket motors down here that if they have to pull the capsule off, it attaches up here. These larger rocket motors, which you can't see very well here, they're kind of dark. With fire, but after it successfully gets into orbit, you want this out of the way. So this little bit comes off, and then there's some tiny little rockets up at the top here. These open up, and those fire and pull it away. Anyway, it's a really nicely detailed model. There's lots and lots of parts. Yay. And last week, I unboxed it, basically. And, there's a stool. There it is. Just, Anyway, I unboxed it, and there's a lot of parts, and a bunch of them fell off the trees. So I've got all sorts of containers filled with little parts. These are the bases. This is pretty cool. There's a base here. This is on Earth, and this is on the moon. So you can land the LEM. I can land the LEM on the moon surface. Okay. These are the windows. If you watched last week, I was panicking because there's some clear windows for the command module and the LEM, and I couldn't find the clear parts anywhere. Usually there's a little envelope full of clear parts, and there wasn't. But it turned out that there's a sheet of clear plastic that you have to cut. Not you, me. I have to cut to shape. Here's the instruction manual. That was good. And it comes even with, surprise, cool gold foil. Gold foil to wrap around the LEM. Because the LEM actually around the perimeter of it was done in gold foil. So there's just, lots of parts here. Some of them still on the trees, a lot of them not, many of them tiny. And I've got containers full of little parts. So that's going to make finding the parts and assembling it a little bit difficult. And then it comes with the Apollo story. The Apollo story is pretty cool. It's written... Let's just say it's overly dramatic. Okay, I don't know if you can read it. I promised that I would actually read this out loud to fill some of the time. And maybe I will, because it goes on and on about really interesting things. Like the Apollo is boosted into lunar flight by the mighty Saturn launch vehicle. It's not like it went off on a rocket. Blast jettisons escape tower after successful launch. Is an overly dramatic picture of blast, right? The moon's gravitational field is dominant. Rocket is fired to accelerate Apollo toward the moon. Actually, it goes kind of the other way. Anyway, yeah, it'll be fun to read this, I guess. Maybe. We'll find out. Anyway, enough of that. I need to begin finding the pieces to assemble. This is what it was supposed to look like, with all the pieces nicely on the sprue, right? But it's not. A lot of them fell off because the box got banged around to a large degree. Light green, that's not the color on the box. I'm just looking at the color chart. The color chart is really pretty useless. Gold, light blue, light brown, matte flesh, right? The faces of the astronauts. Trying to see what color they say should be used on the outside of it. Yeah, the painting instructions are just like worthless. So I'm gonna have to look at the box top to see kind of what colors are supposed to be used and see if I can get close to matching them. They're talking about painting things gold. Oh well. Here the this 1 through 5. 1 through 5 are the pieces for the escape tower. So what I'm going to be attempting to do today, this is my attempt, is I'm going to attempt to find these pieces and put them into the official parts box, okay? And unfortunately, I guess for viewing, it's kind of unfortunate is that it's just, everything's just big and clumsy. It's the way it is. So here, this particular piece of sprue seems to have on it a lot of the parts for the escape thing, the escape tower. So what I've got here is these two parts. That's here. Okay, that's good. And I'm assuming that's the nose. Number 3. Okay, so that's that. I've got 2 of these 4 pieces. I've got white on white, really hard to see. I've got one. That's this part. That's nice. What I don't have is obviously I cannot see these. This must be 5. There's a part number here, okay, and this part number goes to both places. That's fun. I guess there are 2 5s. No, there's a 4 and a 5. There's something broken off here. That's 2. 2 is broken off there. I'm talking out loud here as I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Is that a 4? This is almost as badly done. Oh, it's labeled. I'm going to save that. Launch escape, it says. Okay, so I'm missing 4. I'm missing 4, which is this part on the outside, because I've got 5 here. And I'm missing 2, which is the other side of this. Okay, so 4 goes on 1. Those are matched together. And 5 goes on that. I'm going to leave these together. There's 4 pieces for the little rockets at the end here. 9, 10, 11, and 12. I've got that's, yeah, 10, 11, 12, 9. 9 and 12, 9 and 10 go together. 11 and 12 go together, so I'm going to save these out. It looks like all of these cross braces are okay. There's 2 13s and 2 14s. There's a circle. Okay, I'm seeing how that goes. 13, 14, 13, 14, there's just one circle, which is good because there's only one here. So it looks like I've got this cone, number 8. So it looks like everything is on here except for 2 side pieces and one of the rocket pieces. So I'm going to very nicely just set this entire thing in the box, and it doesn't lay flat. In my first official act here. Rough animal, but I'm getting rid of a little piece of plastic that is in the way. Okay. That was not a really good thing to do, but it's done. Okay, so parts that need to come off, and yeah, okay. This has the same issue that a lot of others do, is these are injection molded, and that means that like these pieces here, these 13s and 14s, I don't know if you can see it, but all of these models have the same issue, and this one does too. I was hoping this would be a little bit better done, but there's a mold, and these 2 halves come together, and these are supposed to be round, but there isn't. There's a mark here right along the edges of everything, and you can even see it. There's excess plastic here, like flashing. So all of these need to be filed or sanded to get the excess plastic. You can see it here and here, and here and here. All of them need to be made round. What a pain, but c'est la vie. All right. Well, that was exciting. Now I need to find the missing one of these, and numbers 5 and these two missing. I love this. So there's an instruction manual, and what does it have? It has a giant question mark on it. That's really not comforting, right? To look at the instruction manual and have the instruction manual go, huh? I wonder if that's like the question mark is a reference to something somewhere else. No, I don't see it. It's just a question mark. Yay. But what this does is these little, I hope they work. These are supposed to open up and show you the little rocket that's on the inside of the nose that propels the escape tower away from the command module. And if I'm going to keep playing around with the instruction manual like this, I'm going to have to put this somewhere safe. All right, what I'm going to do now is the parts that are missing, hopefully the parts that are missing are in one of these parts containers, right? Because they came off, and I don't think those parts are missing, but they're not on the trees. Let's put this aside here. Okay, this is really clumsy. I need to put this somewhere else. Hold on. So the parts that are missing should be in one of these containers. Yeah, that's the last thing I want to do. That would be the last thing I would do is dump them out on the workbench and have parts go flying onto the floor, right? So I'm going to try to be smart, sort of smart, and I'm going to empty them into here. Okay, here's here's one of these parts, probably that one there. Okay, and there's the other half of one of those rockets. So I'm still missing one of these parts from up at the top here. It's definitely not in here. Try not to break all these little wishbone-y kind of pieces. These are probably part of the LEM. These are the pads for the LEM. They are really a pain to pick up. These are just little pieces of excess plastic. This is the hatch, the very important hatch to the command module. I am not seeing the part I need in here. Hopefully it's in here. Yeah, this should be it. Be the part that's missing there. We have pieces of astronauts here. This looks like it's important. I wonder what this... Oh, this is like the very top of the command module. This that goes under here. Okay, well, so far it's not too bad. I've been able to, I believe, I haven't lost any parts yet. These are sealed. So if I bring this back, what I should be looking at here is one of them is 1, the other one is 2. This should be 2. Okay. This one is 5. So this one should be 4. There. Okay. Those are the 2 parts that we're missing there. And then this one is, fortunately, only one of them broke off. This one is number 9. So number 9 eventually gets attached to number 10 like this. These parts, wow. I would say this is just a lot of detail, but the parts are not terribly well formed, and they're very, very delicate. So these are going to come together like this, and you can just see already how well they don't line up. Okay, I mean, just they don't. They rock back and forth. There's excess plastic. There's a big gap there. If you thought that manipulating the parts on the submarine was a pain in the butt, you know, getting them to line up and look good and fill the gaps in and everything else, this is going to be just as much, if not more, than that was. Great. Yeah. I'm going to be spending a huge amount of time, a huge amount of time basically fixing parts. It's like that. I think that's where it broke off. So that needs to be filed down and sanded. These parts don't... flashing on them. Which ones broke off again? I don't know if these two go together or otherwise. I've got 1 and 5. And 1 and 4 are the ones that go together. It isn't even really clear how these parts fit together. Muttering to myself because this is going to be a challenge. Just to get the parts okay. Yeah. So buttons. I might even try to tape these together so that so I know which parts go with what. This is just a mess. Yeah, and this is going to be, to make this look good, it's just going to require a lot of work. So I'm going to, I'm not even sure where to start. I guess maybe I'll start with these parts up on top. Yeah, why not? And since I've got like an hour yet, I'll just start on it. The assembly instructions, these are, I have no idea who did this, but they're, okay. So in order to assemble something, 2 and 3. So the instructions are, first of all, take your cement. Okay, see that picture? That's a tube of model cement, and what you're supposed to do is just drip it somewhere. You know, if I'm following the instructions literally, I'll squeeze it out and just get a drop and get it all over something. And then 1, 2, and 3 come together, which are these parts, okay? And then number 5 is attached to 2, and this is a big drop of cement, and this is a tiny drop, so I'm guessing that they're trying to tell you the volume of how much cement you're supposed to use. So then 5 gets attached to 2, which is this, but it's supposed to like open up. It's supposed to swing open like this. So I'm not sure if you cement it, how that's supposed to be done, unless you're supposed to cement it already open. But that doesn't make any sense. And then 4 goes on there, okay? That's sort of sensible. And then these 2 parts get glued together, and then they're attached to the combination of 1 and 2. And then 4 and 5 open up, and you paint on the inside of something, and then there's a question mark, which is the instructions apparently just they confuse themselves and they don't know what to do. Okay, so these 2 guys, these are numbers 9 and 10 create A, and 11 and 12 create B, and that's important to know because they don't go in the same way. It's not symmetric into part 8, which is this here. Yeah, so there's that. Okay, so these parts are going to take a lot of work to get to work together. And matching, or is that? I can't even tell. I'm going to mark these on the inside. Okay, that's what I'm going to do. I see if this. I just had a thought. This is my thought. My thought is to mark these on the inside. So, because they get cemented together. These are supposed to open up. So I'm not sure I want to put red ink on them. These, I'm going to mark these. These are going to get lost too. So what is it? 9 and 10 are A. I'm sure this was a great thing to do, but otherwise I'm going to lose them. And then use a pencil on this so I can erase it later. This is 5. And this one must be 4. Probably should have used pencil on the other one too. But they won't show, and I learned my lesson for the future. Okay. Yeah. So in order to do anything at all, I'm going to start trying to get 1 and 4 to match up. This is 1 and 2. I'm going to get 1 and 2 to come together and see how much work they need. Sorry, this part of the model building is just really, when they're not well done, what I really want is to get a jeweler's saw. That has to be a gift I get sometime, because I want to be able to saw these off without breaking it into Fortunately, when this one broke off, it didn't create a divot. These X-Acto knives don't work that well, taking these parts off. There. Part 1 and 2, and then these 2 need to come off also. I hope those didn't mess up. That one might be a little bit of a challenge. I always like to cut extra plastic off the sprue because it's so much easier to file and sand it down than it is to try to fill in the gap. Okay, there. So those are the parts that go up in the nose. I'm not going to take the nose off yet. No, that will come later. So what I want to do is test fit these and just see how much trouble I'm in getting these to work together. So there's a gap. I mean, a little bit of a seam. It's not too terribly bad. There's a lot of extra plastic here. I'm thinking that ridge, that ridge is, okay, that's intentional. That's the, this is the side that's closed, and then this is the rocket motor that's inside. The rocket motor only shows on this side, it's not on both sides. Okay, so underneath here is this little rocket motor. So this ridge is not too bad, they match up pretty well. It's a little ragged around the bottom, so I have to, once these go together, there will definitely be a seam to fill, as there is here. So these bits are going to be a little bit tricky. This is a real mess here. There's a lot of little plastic bits that need to be sanded off. And then which side is which? This is 1. Okay, I'm holding 1 on the top here. Which one goes into 1? 4 goes into 1. So this goes on here like this. And we don't know if it's supposed to work or not. I can't tell. It looks that's what the question mark is about. Okay, this does not operate. Okay, it's not, it looks like it's hinged, but it's not. one has an option. There's an option of either cementing this in closed like this. Okay. Let me show this to you. So where there's this question mark, which I said, well, the instructions are confused. Okay. They don't know what to do. That's an option. I can cement these fairings on like that, or they can be put on open like this. Okay, as though they were hinged. It's a little more challenging, so that you can see the rocket on the inside. This part here. So that's, I don't know which way I'm going to do that. You know, on one hand, it makes sense to put it together like this, right? Because that's how it was launched. On the other hand, since they went through the trouble of imprinting that detail, it might be worth attempting to open these like this so you can see the little rocket motor on the inside. I'll have to make that decision. Ooh, a decision point at some point in the future. But now I figured out why there's a question mark. Because it was an option, an uncertainty. It's actually kind of tempting to cement these parts together before finishing them. What I mean by that is cleaning them up, because a lot of the mess that needs to be cleaned up is along the seams. And then after these are put together, and then I make a decision about this little nose cone. Actually, these go together and then the nose goes on. It might even make sense to cement all of these parts together, including the little nose cone, before doing this has to be cleaned up because the nose doesn't fit. All right, well, that's a thing. So speaking of cementing together, which I was just speaking of, I was just doing that speaking. I don't know if the model cement that I have is going to work on this. On the submarine, it didn't work very well at all. So what I'm going to do is test. I'm going to do a test. I'm going to do that by, I'm going to look in the box first. I think there's some parts in here that are I'm just not. No, never mind. Never mind what I was just saying. I'm just going to break this off. This stuff doesn't even break very well. How did all those parts manage to pop off of here if the plastic is so malleable? Okay, this piece of sprue were these 4 parts here. So I'm going to cut this off. Okay, and I'm going to do a test to see if the model cement I have is going to work. Do that by turning this into different pieces. I'm going to attempt to get them to stick together. Just see what happens. If it works, then that's great. And if it doesn't, then I have to go to the model shop soon anyway, because I have to get paints for this thing. Okay. Parts including the little bits here, back in the box. So if this works, I am going to cement together these two parts. Because it makes a difference in terms of what parts go where. And I know that there it is. I very carefully set this aside, the model cement. I very carefully set it aside to a place where I could find it, and I couldn't find it initially, and I finally found it. So if you're beginning to think that the submarine took a long time, and that you're looking at an even longer time for this, you might be correct in your thinking. It just might be. So what does this say? This says, apply sparingly to both surfaces. Wait 20 seconds and press together. This is almost like to be treated like contact cement. Yeah, this might take even longer. Even longer. This might, I don't know, maybe not. You know, it's just, the parts are a mess. So there's just going to be a lot of this silly sanding and filing and stuff just to make them fit. It's just annoying. Okay, that kind of holds. Let me see if this holds. Attach a round part to a round part. So speaking of the submarine, which I was just real briefly, like I have kept saying, I had to buy 3 models in order to get 1. Okay, you're all aware of that, and that means that I've got 2 left. All right, the parts that are left from the other 2 submarines will in fact construct a full submarine. Okay, I can guarantee that there are enough parts in those 2 boxes to make another one, but I used the best parts to make the submarine I made, which means that there are some, they're not broken, but they might be painted and the painting would be bad, or they might be assembled and the assembly would be bad. So they would require, you know, paint removal and sanding and things of that sort. Some of the parts aren't terribly well made. There are some control panels. There are some control. Okay, this stuff seems to be. It might be okay. I don't have anything else to work with. There's some control panels where the plastic did not fill the space. Okay, and so there are like divots in it, which means that they would have to be filled in and detailed. But there are enough parts to make at least 1 more submarine. That would be in fairly good, in decent condition. It would just take even more work than the one that I did. And there might be some parts that don't fit very well at all and would need some manipulation to make it work. But what this is leading to is now I've got 2 submarine kits of various and sundry, condition. They're okay, but not great. And 3 boxes, and I don't need any of them. Definitely do not need any of them to be hanging around here. And so I'd like to offer them, if there's anybody out there who would like 2 submarine kits and a box, maybe I'll keep one of the box tops on, but 2 submarine kits that would probably be enough to create at least one decent Renoir cutaway submarine. And they would be yours for the price, basically the price of shipping. And I don't know how much that would be. I'm guessing it's not cheap. They're kind of big. They're like 2 feet long and they're fairly heavy. So I'm guessing that it might be like $20 to ship these things, which isn't, it's not hugely expensive, but it's not free either. But if there's anybody out there that would like to have the leftover kits, they are yours for the price of postage. And I don't know how you could let me know. I know that, there's Dyson Dungeons social media, but I don't use it. I'm not a social media person, so I wouldn't know how to look, but there might be other members of Dyson Dungeons. And I know that what are we all on? There's there. Right up there underneath me. There's a website and what used to be Twitter, but now is something else. Yeah, there are those places, social media places that I guess if you were interested, you could contact us meaning somebody else, like somebody who attends to the social media, and just say, I would like 2 submarine kits that require a lot of work to be assembled for the price of postage. And if you wanted to say that on one of these social media things, or maybe more than one, I don't know, then you can have them for the price of whatever it takes to ship them. So these magical instruments, these clothespins, old-fashioned clothespins, are going to hold these pieces together until the cement is set, and then I can go through the trouble of filling in and sanding, and you've seen that routine before. So there, you have witnessed some initial assembly of the Apollo. Yeah, okay, the YouTube comments, maybe the website. But yeah, I mean, otherwise, I don't really want to bother putting them up on eBay, which is where I originally got them. Because I'm not, it's just not worth doing for what I could fetch them for. But they're souvenirs of the show, and they actually, there's probably enough parts there, like I said, to make at least one submarine. So if you're interested in that, if you have any interest in that at all, yeah, you can let me know some. Okay, so since I'm having so much fun putting these pieces together, do more. This is number 9, 11, and 12 go together. Yeah. So this is going to be 9 and 10, which is A. And again, this makes sense for me to No, they really are different. Okay. They go together in a cluster of 4. It makes sense for me to cement these together before going through the trouble of cleaning them up, because they're going to have seams that need to be filled. These 2 are 9 and 10, so they are A. All sorts of things happening here, just assembling things. But these, these fit together, kind of meh like that. Meh fitting. These aren't even going together at all. There we go. Yeah, so, oh wow. They don't even line up very well. And then there's this big gap down here. I don't know what that's all about. I don't know if you can see it. There's, the parts simply do not line up. Okay. There's like this band right around the rocket motor. There's a gap down at the bottom. So I think what I'm going to do, I'm not sure where I need to manipulate it. They have these little pins on them that are supposed to help line up the parts. But in this particular case, I think the little pins are actually keeping them from lining up. Like the pin on one side doesn't match up with the hole on the other. Some time ago, I thought, well, if I'm going to build models, not like I did when I was 12 years old, where I just glued them together and never painted anything, maybe I should figure out how to do it. So I bought a book that said, this is how to build models. And what they said was, if you got these little pins aren't going to line up, so just get rid of them. That's what it said. And in this case, I think they're correct. The pins are keeping these from lining up. So I'm just going to get rid of them. But it's pretty clear that once these are cemented together, that there's going to be a fairly large amount of cleaning up to do. In order to get them looking good. There's open seams, there's parts that don't fit, they don't line up. Too worried about the gaps, those I can fill in, but the not lining up is a problem, because then that takes a lot of sanding and filing to get them to line up later. I hope we're going to ever, it might be a long time before we see any relaxing painting on the Apollo. But we're seeing already some not terribly relaxing part identification, complaining about the build quality of the model. That's going to be this way. the real submarine, was completed ahead of schedule, which was a really nice thing, but I don't know if the Apollo was or not. Okay, getting these, I probably shouldn't have filed those off, really. Just getting them to hold together. But they didn't line up, so I couldn't use the pins. This way I can get them to line up. But holding them together lined up is going to be a little bit of a challenge. One side lined up. Hopefully both sides will line up. Big seams there. It just, yeah, that has to be filled in. Just sort of flare out. Okay, well, putting this together, this is going to require like me holding on to this very, very carefully for minutes at a time. You know, I mean, just hanging on to it like this, holding it. I can't put toothpicks on it. I mean, not toothpicks, clothespins. Why do I keep saying the wrong words? I can't do that and have it hold together. The upside is that the pins, since the pins didn't allow it to be lined up, I can now line it up, or at least pretty closely. The downside is that by doing that, taking the pins off, they slide around on each other. So that's going to take more careful holding than I am prepared to give during this stream yet today. So I'm going to set those aside. And in the rest of the stream, this is okay. This is holding on okay. So the rest of the stream, I'm going to take parts 13 and 14 here. These trellis bits, hopefully getting them off without breaking them. And I'm going to be getting rid of we call it the flashing, but when they were molded, there's a ridge along all of the tubes, and it's just, you can just feel it by running your fingernail over it. And those just pretty much just need to be filed off. This is really soft plastic, so I might even just use sandpaper. But the ridges in some places, like here, you can see it on, they're actually quite visible. So they need to be cleaned up. Okay. These two rocket motors go together just like those did, but I don't see any purpose in taking those off if I'm not going to cement them today. And I'm not going to cement them today because they need to be held very carefully. And this late in the stream, there's just a tendency for my hands to be a little bit less than steady. In fact, it's not unusual at this point in the stream for me to start getting a little hand cramps. Okay, did I use sandpaper on these? Yeah, I need to get into them. Yeah, I'm going to get myself some sandpaper from the sandpaper I cut before. Fairly quickly. And I'm going to try this on here. Yeah, it's really obvious that it's there. So, like I said, this is pretty soft plastic. So this might go. Yeah, pretty quickly with this. But there's, like, look at all, I mean, there's just a lot of edges. There's just a lot of pipes, each of which has this little ridge thing on it that needs to be sanded off. And so it's like anything else, it has a lot of surface area, right? It's not a very big thing, but it has a lot of surface area, so it takes a while. This is the reason why I'm speculating that building this Apollo could end up taking longer than the original, just like building the submarine may have actually taken longer than the building of the original. It's just because, like this, like both sides of every single one of these needs to be sanded down. So I'm going to have to come up with something to chat about. I know it's not that critical right here today because there's like a half hour left in the stream, and I'm just sanding down little struts, you know, the edges of struts so that they don't have obvious ridges on them. And it's white on white, so I can't see it. Like with the gray plastic, it was kind of nice because when I was sanding it down, it changed color, right? The gray turned lighter, and so I was able to see by looking at the color whether I had successfully gotten rid of ridge marks and things like that. But with the white on white, it's a little bit harder. The sandpaper is working well. This pile of sandpaper that I bought, I can't remember where I got it, goes all the way from like 150 grit to 3,000. So it really is good, and I don't use very much of it at any given time, so it lasts a while, but it's really good quality. So I may end up, well, I won't be using it up anytime soon, so I don't have to buy more yet. But at some point I might need to rediscover where I purchased it. Oh, good. Yeah, so that's snapped already. One of those little things snapped. But they're not only poorly made, but they're fragile. Great. Now it just makes it harder. It's like working on a little minifig with a sword blade, right? Just cement that back and hope that it doesn't show. Sign here. Yay. Ole Brogger, you should, it's OLEBROGGER. Check out his YouTube. He is a really great modeler. He makes really good things, but recently he finished a table for playing Dungeons and Dragons. It's like it's got a DM station and places for 5 players, each of whom will have their own tablet, which is really amazing. I guess it took him 2 weeks to build, and he turned that into just one like half-hour stream on YouTube, which is amazing editing work. Anyway, he was on chat, said nobody wanted to watch me do sanding for 20 hours. And all I could do was go, oh, that's all you're going to be watching here, is watching me do sanding for 20 hours. Yeah, it's really unfortunate that, these injection molded things, just leave these marks, because they become, once it's painted, especially if it's sort of glossy, they become really obvious, And these were pipes. They weren't like pipes with ridges on them, which is what we got here. We made one fracture on it so far, and hopefully not more. They're really not easy to get to either. It would be easier. Maybe I will use a file. I don't know. Let me try. I'm going to use this little triangle one. And I can get into the little crevices here too, the bits where they come together. I'm just going to do this. It's way faster. And I don't think it's going to leave any file marks that anybody will be able to see. It's so much of this, and every single bit of these struts has this little line right down the center. Part of my challenge here is just is not missing any.
Did I get that one already? I know, it's hard to tell. I should be able to tell by whether or not there's a little line down the center of it or not. That's not as easy as it sounds. It's way into here. Right with the X-Acto blade. But this is just really annoying. I just have to say that there is such obvious, I mean, I can even see them practically. Lines everywhere on the pipes. And I'm just doing like one of a bunch of them. Making lots of little white plastic dust. It's just making a mess everywhere. So this is such a beautifully detailed model. That's why it's even sadder that we've got these marks on it, these flaws, the mold flaws. Kind of lost track of where I was here. Little pencil marks on them or something when I finish them. Can kind of see them. They leave it's kind of a shadow, I guess I'll call it. Where they are. You can definitely feel them with the file. Oh well, more silence as I do relaxing, getting rid of mold marks on tiny little pieces that is only slightly broken with Dyson Dungeons. Yeah, the connecting parts, the contact points for the assembly of this are really tiny. Yeah, it'll be interesting. It'll be interesting to find out just how well the adhesives I'm using, model cement, works on these things. I'm actually going to cement that now and just make sure it's cleaned up before moving on. One of the things I'll be doing is I'll be making a trip to our local hobby shop because I need to get paints, low adhesive masking tape, maybe some different model cement I'll try. There's different brands, and I might try one that's different than the one I usually use. Just to try it, just to see if it works any better. Well, this is better though. I've gotten, if you can't feel it with your fingernail, it's pretty decent. But those were really obvious and nasty mold marks throughout this whole thing. So here, obviously didn't get this bit. And they're going to interfere with the assembly as well, but I'll worry about the assembly when I get to that. Yeah, if I'm going to be doing this kind of prep work on these pieces, I better come up with some sort of decent monologue. Well, I mean, decent in that I always use decent language, but I mean like in somewhat interesting, or more interesting than the music. I don't know. But I think this one is pretty well cleaned up. But there's this break there, and I'm going to let's put a little bit of model cement on that break. And I want it to hold together. If it bubbles up a little bit, then I can just sand it down. Okay, well, this was, I don't know what to say. It was okay. It went okay. It's just kind of disappointing that the quality of the model is not much better, if at all better, than that of the submarine, because I'm having to do so much cleaning up on it. That's kind of holding. But I found the pieces for the escape tower. I discovered that they are very poorly made, so they're going to require, I don't want to mess with this until the cement is set. They're going to require a fair amount of cleaning up. Okay, this one's kind of cleaned up. These three aren't. I assembled two pieces. Those require cleaning up. And I discovered that these little rocket motor things, Space Facts, yeah. Oh, welcome. Thanks for following. I really appreciate it. Yeah, so I discovered like these little rocket motors, just they're going to be a real challenge. They're going to be a challenge to put together and hold well. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this is how I'm going to do it. Grab an alligator clip. I'm going to get the top together like that. Put an alligator clip on it like that. And then line them up. And put another clip down here. So each of these little motors are going to have 3 alligator clips on it. Hopefully keeping them pretty well lined up so that the amount of work I need to do to clean them later will be minimized. Okay, that's yeah. It's just like these tiny little fractions of a millimeter of misalignment end up being so obvious. Okay, putting the clip there is not a good idea. I'm going to have to clip it like here. I'm just practicing failing. I'm practicing my failure at getting these parts lined up. Okay, that is likely to work better. Putting it on the top didn't work. I'll put it like here, here, and then down here and here. So it'll be like 4 alligator clips on this little rocket motor thing, and then it'll still require a fair amount of filing and filling and filing and sanding to get it to look okay. Wow. Yeah. Not very good, really. But hopefully I can, keep it from flopping around like it is now. Too bad I am not ambidextrous. I'd like to be a little more ambidextrous. Get the cement in there. Try not to get it on my fingers. Line it up. Put the clip on it. Say that's as good as I can get it, and I'll fix it in post. Okay. Yeah, that's going to be it. And then there'll be a lot of fixing it in post happening after that. Okay. Yeah, the Apollo has started. It fits not very quickly, not very well. Just getting the parts to not look crappy, because they are. I'll go over this again one more time, because these are supposed to be pipes without ridges on them, and there's a ridge I missed. Oh, yeah. I just need to stop. At some point it's like, that's all I can get done today. But, yeah, I'm going to go over this one again. And then when I do the other ones, I'm going to be much more careful in terms of keeping track of what I've already done and what I haven't. All right. This is the escape tower. Get back next time. I might even work on it on Friday, because I don't know if I have anything else to work on. I'll clean this up as much as I can. Install the little nose cone up here, right? And then figure out how to cement together these rocket motors. Clean up these trusses, right? And I'm just trying to figure this out. Yeah. Get these might be okay. I get these taken apart and cleaned up. That'll be a good thing to do. Why not? Yeah, I'm gonna get this moving along. I'm learning as I go in terms of what needs to be cleaned up and how quickly it can be done. what techniques, whether a file or an X-Acto knife or sandpaper, which of those seems to work best in getting rid of the mold marks. I'll get this cleaned up and fixed. Put some plastic putty in the seams, file down the ridges. Yeah, it'll look okay. Get the rocket motors. Anyway, yeah, it's just a real thing. Real bunch of parts that don't... You can look at this and you can just see the mold marks on it. And this is just the easiest part, the control tower. But the other thing I really need to do is I need to get the paint, because this whole thing is painted like an off-white, a really like satin finish off-white. So once it's assembled, other than the rocket motors, which are supposed to be painted some other color, I'm not sure what. Yeah, really not. There's just no good painting instructions on these things. B, what is B? Color B is black. Yeah, the rocket nozzles are supposed to be black. Okay, I guess the whole thing, the whole bit is supposed to be black, inside and out. Inside of the cone probably should be painted. Yeah, the painting on this will be a little bit of a challenge. It looks like, yeah. I'm not sure how I'm supposed to spray paint this whole thing, including getting rid of the seams once the rocket nozzles are in place. It's almost tempting to put this whole thing together except for the rocket nozzles and then see whether it's possible to assemble those. I'm not sure. I may end up, what I may end up doing is like masking over it. That's probably what will end up happening, is I'll end up trying to mask it somehow, because this scaffolding goes in around the rocket motors once they're installed. Anyway, enough of that. I've gone a little bit long. Thank you for the new follows. We'll be continuing to work on the Apollo, kind of off and on in between minifigs, and eventually, I can say, eventually, things will start being assembled and we'll get done. Yeah, it'll be a little bit more of a challenge than I was hoping it would be, just in terms of preparation and assembly. But that's just the way it's going to be. So I'm going to sign off now. Thank everybody for joining in, and I'll be back on Friday, more or less 10, to do some more relaxing painting with Dyson Dungeons. And it'll be a minifig or Apollo, or who knows quite what will happen. It'll be a surprise. So thanks again, and see you on Friday. Bye.